Yes. Hi, everybody. Oh, my goodness. I'm so excited to be here. And, Alexandros and I were just talking and we had so much to share. And we thought, you know what? Let's talk about it on social media. So here we are talking about it. You see, our goal is to create value for people and to help people to have a better, more richer life. And one of the ways we thought we would do that is by educating as many people or sharing with everyone, you know, the power of their self image and how it affects their life. And of course, talking about the different layers that cause someone's self image to be great or not so great, and the different key factors that might be involved in that. So, Alexandros, why don't you go ahead and say hi to everyone and, of course, share.
Hi everyone. Here I am. I am sharing. What we have to share is actually it's very important. And even though to a lot of us it may seem as rudimentary knowledge, you'd be surprised how many people don't have the this insight, and because they don't have this insight, they're being affected without knowing they're being affected. So if someone is actually affecting you negatively and you don't know it, then it's business as usual. You have no knowledge, you have no awareness of it, so there's nothing to change, right?
True, true. And I think for years, I wasn't sure, how this affected me. I didn't know that this was the one main thing that was affecting my results. I just thought something was wrong with me, but it was something was wrong with my thinking.
Right. Well, something was wrong with you, but
How about that?
not in the way that you thought about it. Well, we were gonna start talking about the concept of the inner child, right?
Yes, we are.
To begin with here, and this is how I see this as I have experienced it over the years. Over the years in my practices and studies of the mind, and me being a hypnotherapist,
Mhm.
studying hypnosis is actually the first step towards really getting to understand how the mind works. Because if you don't know how the mind works, then how are you going to help direct change, right? It's like to be a mechanic, you got to know how the car, like a car mechanic, got to know how the car engine works.
Absolutely. You got to look under the hood and see, what's going
That's right.
on there.
And under the hood is exactly what we're talking about here, because I actually have used that metaphor in the past, because that's a way to compare talk therapy with hypnotherapy. Now, of course, I have nothing against talk therapy. A lot of people know, and they have known for decades, that it can be very beneficial. But when we're examining what exactly happens and why talk therapy can produce any results over the years versus hypnotherapy producing results in a few sessions, which I have experienced that with clients of mine in the past. Like someone would come in and they would have a lot of inner problems, a lot of blockages, a lot of pent up aggression and disappointment issues and all this stuff. And after a few sessions, it was like, see you, which of course is awesome for them. Yes, go ahead.
No, it's awesome for them because then they don't have to keep coming back and they're growing more. And that's the goal, right? You don't want someone to be coming back for the rest of their life. You want someone to say, okay, I am, the problem is resolved. I'm living life exactly how I want to live it. And
Absolutely. Now, when you say you don't want someone to keep coming back for the rest of their lives, you are referring to you having integrity, because the business aspect of doing this, someone would say, "Of course, I want someone to be coming in for the rest of their lives." Why not? It's good business. So
That's
the idea here is that, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as you're concerned, we are here to grow, and we embrace growth that severs the umbilical cord from being dependent on anyone else.
yeah.
Right? This is what this is all about. Because we don't need gurus. We don't need anyone other than our own connection, of course, our connection to one another, and our connection to the divine, which is there all the time. Right? All we have to
All the
do is
time.
just, yeah, which all we have to do is just become aware of it and enhance upon it, create a relationship with it. So, talking about the relationship, but talking about working under the hood, there are two aspects largely that affect our lives, two aspects of our mind. People, most people, have heard those uh, concepts, those phrases, those words. One being this, the conscious mind, and the other one being the subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind has become so popular over the years, especially when it comes to self development and growth. Right?
Hmm.
Everyone talks about this. Oh, you have to reprogram your subconscious mind. Yeah, you have to do that because if you don't do that, then no change happens. Right? We know that. The question is why? Why is that happening? Not many people talk about the under the hood
Hmm.
procedures here, the inner workings of the mind. Right?
Hmm.
So psychology has known about the concept of the inner child and the adult for decades. What is the inner child and what is the adult? The inner child represents that which we refer to as the subconscious mind, right? And the adult represents what we refer to as our conscious mind. What is the difference between those two guys? The conscious mind is our everyday awareness.
Hmm.
Is anything that can perceive with our five senses, right? And that conscious mind acts, in many cases, acts like an adult, which is to say, it produces orders.
Yeah. Do this. You
Yeah,
should do this. Or, yeah, the
that's
critic is always right there too. Yeah.
that's right. So what happens here is this: the difference between the two, the child and the adult.
Hmm.
Ironically, and it's a divine irony that God placed within us, within our mind, all the power in the hands of the child, right? All the power exists in the, and hence everyone's talking about the subconscious mind. If you don't act and change, reprogram the subconscious mind, nothing happens, right? We know that.
But even our Christian Bible says that, that you must become like a child.
That's right. So,
Yeah.
okay, let's examine why here. The subconscious mind, being a child, is all about what? Emotions, right? The child, anyone who has children, of course, all of us have been children. We are intimately familiar with what it feels like to be a child. What is that? That is full of emotion. Right
And
there.
it's fun.
Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not, depending on the circumstance. So, so the child is all emotion, which is to say, we cannot feel any emotions without the child getting involved,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Now, the adult who thinks is in charge, however, is going to be there, try to regulate the things. Like, we do this, you do that. We don't do it. No, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. So, however, the adult doesn't have any power. it only works as a calculator, right? The adult is there to, for example, we're going down the stairs. The adult is there to tell you, oh, there's so much distance between one step and the other, and if you miss that distance, you may fall down, break your back. So it guides you on a daily basis in an informative way, analyzing your surroundings. So this is, and of course, it's very important that I'm not diminishing the importance of the conscious mind, right? Because what happens when the adult goes entirely on vacation, right? What happens is what is commonly known as we're losing our mind, right? We become insane. So it is very important then to come to the conclusion that for any growth, for any real growth, for any healthy growth to happen, to occur, both of those individuals, they have to be in cooperation. And if they are, things are looking smashing. There's nothing that can hold you back. I liken that to, excuse me, to the metaphor of two wild horses. Have you ever seen in the many years ago, Levi's had produced a commercial that was a huge success, right? In the commercial, what did they do? They didn't tell you how good the jeans are. This is like, oh, buy them, they're really good. No, what they did is, we're not going to tell you. We're just going to show you.
Mhm.
So they took a pair of pants and they tied one pant to one horse and the other one to another horse, and then they had them go to different directions. To prove that even those wild horses couldn't tear the. They're that strong. They're that well made. Right? Of course, that would get your attention. Nobody needs to see. This is engaging the subconscious mind. That's engaging the child. This is what advertising does. Any advertising that considers itself successful will have to do that. Now, going back to the cooperation factor, this is what happens in most of our lives as everyday people. Those
Mhm.
horses, they go on, they have different directions, right?
Yeah,
And, yeah, go ahead.
it's like working on a goal, and the child is going one way and the adult is going the other way. They're going in two separate directions, and it really doesn't work until
That's
you
right.
get them working together.
That's right. And it doesn't work and it won't work. It will never work. And this is what happens every time we do something that feels like we're forcing it, like we're putting a lot of effort into it. When you feel like you're putting a lot of effort into what you do, then you are trying to drag the child horse, with you.
I used to work like that, Alexandros. Like, I would make myself work even when I didn't feel like it. And the child was like, gosh darn it, I'm done. I want to go play. I'm like, no, we're working. And the results were poor. But
That's right.
continue.
The results become poor in so many ways because you see the child, divinely inspired, doesn't care about work in the same way that the vast majority of us, right, have no interest in doing homework. It's like I want to know. It's like I haven't yet to meet a person that said going to school was awesome and I couldn't wait to get home to do my homework.
I escaped and I never went back.
So the reason for that is because the homework is what? It's an impressed uh, obligation. Is someone else telling you what to do? Namely, that someone else in this case is the adult. But the adult doesn't know any better. The adult is taking direction from their surroundings, right? Their environment. So
Mhm.
the adult is trying to do what's right, and what's right is what I've been told. I have to be good. I have to be good. So The child, see, my dogs talk about impulse response. So what happens is that the child having all the magic, holding all the cards, really will not doesn't want to engage unless there is play at hand. Of course, what does that tell us about creation, right? Creation is all about play. That's what being an artist is about, isn't it? And I'm intimately familiar with that process, as you know.
Mhm.
So there's no way like I could sit down and be like, okay, now you're going to create a brilliant,
A
you know,
mess.
art piece. Go, go. What are you? What? I don't see you working. So there's no way for that process to work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't. Why? Because we are driven by the child, and the child will disengage. He will um, continually refuse
Mhm.
to engage itself unless there's play involved. And this
I
is
agree.
why every every brilliant creation, every brilliant invention, it always came out of a moment of relaxation and or play. Like Archimedes, who was trying to discover the principle of um, the gravity. He was like he just he couldn't define it, and he didn't know what to do. He was trying again and again and again. Uh, and then he was like, screw it, I'm just gonna go take a bath. And as he submerged himself in the tub, the water was risen, and then it overflowed, and then it was like, whoa! The whole it's actually I didn't say properly. It was the concept of I don't even know how to say that in English.
In
The
English.
the math principle of dispension. I think it's called. I don't know. Anyway, the point is that everything brilliant, everything successful, everything
Mhm.
creative always happens and only happens when the child is involved. And
Yeah.
here is the trouble. Most of us in a society that has grown up in within the concept of logic being God, logic, it's the principle of logic. You gotta be logical. You gotta be this kind of operation of the mind being misconstrued as the important one. We have learned to suppress the child. We have learned to put the child in the closet and put the child on perpetual. What is what?
Time
Time out.
out, they call it. Time out. Yeah, I agree. You know what? Some of my best decisions were made because I connected with the child, and gut decisions. I just instinctively knew that this was the way to do it. And I did it that way, even though logically it didn't make sense. And that's when I was able to have some of my biggest breakthroughs in life, you know. And I
That's
find
right.
that when I'm very, very relaxed, like for example, one of my favorite things is just to go to the park, like you're out in nature and just walk. And some of my best ideas come from there, that space. I think the child kind of
Absolutely.
likes that.
Our child loves that.
Yeah.
And the child. So the first thing that is important to be done here is reconnect with the child, because
Mhm.
our inner children have been abused. Have been abused for years, right? Because that's what we learn to. Oh,
Yeah.
when you're in a situation where it feels like you're gonna have a lot of fun. Oh, let's do that. We should do that. I have to work, but no, but you should do that. This is gonna be awesome. Oh, no, I can't. I have to work. And then of course, if you choose the latter, if you choose the obligation, it's just not gonna produce anything for you. It's just gonna be a waste of time and energy, right? Because you will have once again put the child on timeout. The child will get, however, involved regardless. Now, here is the caveat: you don't want a pissed off child. You see, what's the peaceful? How do you know when your child is pissed off? Right, this is what happens when you're in a foul mood. That's what happens
Mhm.
when you're depressed. That's what happens when you're angry. That's what happens when you're frustrated.
Yeah, my child was like, "Listen, man, you're not listening to anything I say. I am done. I'm not working, and you're not working either."
That's right. I mean, it's so many times we have. I know I've made the same kind of decision where it's like, I don't think so. For me, it becomes, of course, over the years, I have trained myself to have a beautiful relationship with that child, of course, because I give the child free reign, on a daily basis. My child is so happy. I mean, where I live around here, that was one of the things that my child was nagging me for years. Because, uh, I grew up in a city, I grew up in Athens, and when I came to the US in New York City, I was in the city for like many years, 20 years or so. So I was miserable, and my child was like, you promised." When I was a kid, I actually promised myself, when I grow up, I'm going to live in nature. That's where my house will be, right? And and of course, my child, held me to that at any given point during the process. He was like, "You promised me we would live in nature. What, this is not fair. What are you doing this with that?" So,
Hold on,
of
we
course,
got to say something here because we got to
yeah.
ask our audience first of all. Because how many of you have promised your inner child something and you haven't done it? As a matter
Mm,
of fact, I would ask you all to like kind of write down what did you promise your inner child? Because as children, we kind of make pacts with ourselves. When we become an adult, we'll do this, and you're not doing it. Is it because you feel like it's safer to go the other way? Is it safer to go with the crowd? Who will be mad at you if you decide, you know what? I don't want to do this. Your inner child's like, step away from this. Or, maybe it's you're in a situation that you're just not happy. But and your inner child is rebelling. Maybe you're late all the time to work. Something just always happens just before you come out the door. Your inner child's like, I don't want to go. Whatever it is, and it sabotages you because it will sabotage you. However, like Alexandros is saying, that when you start working with that inner child, you know what? It actually gives you shortcuts that help you to get to your goals faster. Get to what it actually speeds up everything for you. So let's talk a little bit about that, Mr. Megas. How, the inner child, how do we work with them so that, how do we have them work together so it can help us to get to our goals faster?
well, that is 100% accurate, as a matter of fact. But it's not even. It's an understatement.
Mhm.
It doesn't just speed up. Really, it is the only cause of results.
Yeah.
And if we are dragging our behinds all along for a long period of time, and we say, well, I tried it this way and I'm still producing results. Well, you may, because there are increments in there that the communication between the child feels like, okay, I'm gonna give you that one thing, and then we go play. So there is constant communication. The subconscious mind, the child will do stuff for you if it feels it has to, and there's no other way, right? To because usually this the escape. See how many people I've
Hmm.
seen that in the corporate world so vividly, where people are like, okay, they say, but you heard that expression. I work hard, and I play hard. Right?
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
So, but what does that mean? What does that mean? That means there is a pact. You actually said that very beautifully. There's a pact between the adult and the child. So the adult says, if you help me do this, I'll give you some really good play. We'll go get some ice cream. It's going to be awesome. So then
Hmm.
you entice. This is the bribe, but this bribing the child, which of course can work, but but it's like marrying someone for money versus marrying someone for
Oh,
love, who just happen to have all the right stuff, and they will become successful. They will become wealthy. But this is the difference. What you want is, you want a child that is in love with the adult,
hmm.
just like a parent and a child relationship, right? Who is it? I mean, who is a parent or knows of a parent that is such a great parent when they're authoritarians all the time? All they do is just tell the child to do this, do that. Don't listen to me. So, show me one child that is happy with a parent like that.
They don't
Doesn't
even
happen.
want to hang around
That's right. It doesn't happen. As a matter of fact, these are the children that can't wait to grow up. Yeah,
and leave home,
as far away as possible,
or they
right?
rebel.
So, of course. So this is what we're talking about here. So the relationship is extremely important. First of all, because it is important to become fully aware of the fact that for anything to work, the child has to be in agreement, and for anything to be brilliant, and for us to be happy, this relationship has to be a love relationship, a loving relationship,
Hmm.
right? So, so it is 100% false perception to think that anything can come out of the adult's supervision or interaction. The adult is only there
Hmm.
to, again, to provide critical thinking, to show because the child doesn't know what's good or what's bad, right? That's why, I mean, you could fall into, God forbid, into drug addiction.
Hmm.
That happens because the child feels so overwhelmed and needs an outlet. And so when it sees that outlet, it's not gonna, it can't reason. It can't be like, well, yeah, that feels good, I guess, but it's not good for me, so I'm not gonna do it. No, there's no, there's none of that. You will just dive into that because it sees that as a solution, right?
You,
So, yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to cut you right here because you stumbled up on you made a good point. And people talk about drug addictions, but also people have, there's alcoholism, there is food overeating. And these are ways that your inner child is like trying to escape or to feel better or to soothe itself. And I think the best way then is to know how to work with that inner child so that you both are happy, the adult and the child have a happy relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the if you think about it, this is what. Okay, I'm giving you a metaphor. That's a good one. All right. So let's say you were getting ready to go on a trip. Right? Getting ready to go on a trip, and you pack your car. You got everything in there. Right? Yeah, everything, all the good stuff. Your grill and your tennis rackets or whatever. Oh, your bicycle. you got one of those like big van type of cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what happens. Everyone's excited. You get in the car, you turn on the engine, but nothing happens. What? There's no gas. There's no fuel.
Mm.
There is no fuel. Who provides that fuel? Yeah, you guessed it. The child provides the fuel. And that fuel comes in the form of emotional engagement, excitement, right? Because so then the car, the driver, the adult acts as the GPS. So the adult says, okay, I will choose where I want to go. I want to go, I don't know, to the ocean. I want to go to the mountains, wherever. I choose where I want to go because you wouldn't let the child make the choice. The child doesn't, let's go anywhere. It doesn't matter. As they say, if you don't know where you're going, every road will take you there.
Mm-hmm.
So you need the cooperation, and that cooperation is brilliant when the adult sets the plan, says, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is where we're going. It's gonna be awesome," and then the child, provided the child is really excited about this, it fills your tank with gas. It makes sure you have all the obstacles removed, everything, tires checked, engine checked, everything is awesome.
We're good to go.
You're good to go.
Yeah.
And so the only thing then that uh, holds you back from your destination
Mm-hmm.
is the distance. Say it takes a few hours or whatever it is. If you go cross country, it doesn't matter. The point is that a lot of us, we tend to feel discouraged because we are so focused on the end game, on the actual destination, that we forget to enjoy that
The
process.
journey.
The
Yeah.
scenery, the oh my god, what? Look, a buffalo! Let me stop and take a selfie. So we don't we haven't we are in a very strictly um, or result oriented regimen society,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, many times we skip the child. The child doesn't care about the result. You see,
Mm-hmm.
what happens here? Let's examine the real purpose. The child, which holds proof of your divine nature, all they care about is all you acquire in the process. Is all the gifts and all the knowledge and all the relationships
You
that you
build.
form
Mm-hmm.
throughout the journey,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And in the same way, that's why they say, when you are in your deathbed, all you care about is those experiences, those emotions, those connections formed.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that make it. Because nobody on the deathbed is like, "Oh, I got that promotion."
Yeah. Yeah. They
It
think
was
about their
awesome.
real.
It was all worth it. I got the promotion.
So, um, let me cut you right here because, like, I think the audience might want to know is, you know, when you connect with a child, and instead of just focusing on the journey, I believe that they probably might want to know how do you enjoy the journey, and I'll give you my synopsis, and then you can probably, you know, tell me what yours is. But I think if you already feel like you have it, what you're looking for, then it's easier to enjoy the journey. That's why it's good to put emotion onto it. Because if you already have, let's say, for example, you say you're going to go to California, all right? And you imagine you already feel like you're in California. So as you go along the road and you see a buffalo, you're like, oh, let me take a picture of this buffalo because I'm already there. There's no problem. I'm going to be in California if you're in California. So there's no need to kind of only focus on getting there because you're already there. And when you connect with the child, and when the child is working, the child is having more fun. Work seems to be more fun. As a matter of fact, you can work all day and won't even know it because the child is happy. And that child, of course, is your subconscious mind. And we're going to talk a little bit now about the conscious versus the subconscious mind and how it can help you to get to your goals and dreams as we close out today. Because I know that you're all watching and you're like, okay, this is all fun. This is all good. Child, adult. All right. How does that help me to go and get that car that I want? How does that help me to get that house that I want? How can I live in the woods like that guy right there? Because I don't want to be in the city. So let's talk a little bit about the conscious and versus a subconscious mind. How we can use that to get what we want.
Well, first of all, what we said before,
Mhm,
the subconscious mind inevitably gets involved in our daily lives.
mhm,
So it's impossible not to involve it unless you are clinically depressed, in which case the child is shut down entirely. Right?
mhm,
We don't. That's, that's not a good idea. Um, so what we want is to have positive involvement of the child, because
mhm,
every time we're feeling inadequate, anytime we're feeling doubtful, anytime we're feeling fearful, every time we're feeling negative, angry, anytime we feel like we're no good, the this is the perception of the child,
mhm,
and the child will step in there and talk about, or feel rather, what it has been made to feel all these years. So how do you take that child out of this mood? Well, we start deliberately building that relationship again. How do we do that? Take the child out of the closet. Number one, it's like, in the beginning, what happened? You know what happened the first time many years ago? I caught myself looking in the mirror. I was looking in the mirror. I was looking right in my eyes, and I started saying, "I love you."
mm,
And within a minute or two, I started tearing up. I started crying, and that was the connection being rekindled. That child, just like any child, needs to know it's being loved, needs to know it's appreciated, and needs to know you understand how powerful it is, because it is the most powerful. Right? So what we do is we rekindle that relationship. How do we do that? We start doing little things on a daily basis that feel good,
mhm,
little things that feel good. So if you want to be something, like I wanted to talk about the fact that I was like, I'm now an artist, creating all this amazing stuff. It is amazing. My child tells me so. Um, I I didn't grow up, by the way, being artistically inclined, and to a lot of people, when I tell them that, they're like, "What? It's impossible." I wasn't. I was always the child was always talking to me, however, and the child was showing me things,
mhm,
and thankfully, I was always listening. So one conversation in a conversation led to another, and I was taking places that my logic didn't didn't feel good about. It was like, this is crazy. What are you doing? No, stop. So engage into what it is that makes you feel awesome. A lot of us have a dream about doing something. I wish I could be, right? That fill in the blanks. I wish I could be. When I first said to myself, I wish I could be an artist. There were two. responses. One was, "That's crazy, you're insane," and the other one was like, "That sounds exciting. Well, let's. What does that entail? Let's go and look. Let's see where can we find elements of what it takes to be an artist." You see, it's that investigation. Is that, you know, let's go in the woods. My daughter tells me all the time, "Let's go for a treasure hunt, Daddy." It's a treasure hunt, quite literally in many cases. So when we dream of something that feels like, initially feels like it's crazy, it's insane, there's no way, how is that going to happen? Don't listen to the voices that say these things. Just ask the question to yourself, well,
What's my next step?
how can I make this happen? what
Yeah.
what should I do? Can I, like, if you are, let's say you wanted this big in-ground pool in your house, and what does it feel like to be in the pool? Well, you get a kiddie pool, fill it up with water, and get in there. And imagine, this is the first step towards feeling your way through getting there. Because once again, we're so obsessed, and that's conscious mind mentality. Oh, getting there. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Elk, what? Buffalo? Who gives a crap? I want to go there. But it's, and then when we get there, most people are there. When they get there, it's not, they're like, okay, it wasn't all that it was cranked out to be. It's always the case, right? People will get there. It's like, okay, so what's next? What are the next? So it's life then becomes a series of quests that for most of us we can't even appreciate. So
Yeah.
it's like these are all the really driven people, like the crazy being. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being really driven, but if you're really driven because you have to be really driven, and if that's the program you've created for yourself, then is it worth it? Are you really happy? It's like being the person who always um, goes after the extreme sports. If I don't jump out of a plane without a parachute, it wasn't a fun day. So that's the balance. You take this one day at a time. You see, now me being in the woods right here, you know how it happened? I'll tell you real quick. I was living in this Astoria apartment in New York City. It was many years, and it was safe. It was safe. It was cheap, and until one day, my landlord was like, "Hey, I'm gonna need that apartment." I'm like, what? My whole world started collapsing. What am I gonna do? My life is over. How am I gonna find something like? Oh my god! And I was just panicking, like as panicking goes, for several days. And then, as I was dwelling in this kind of feeling, the child was like, "Excuse me, did I say something?" Like, what? you know, maybe you have a friend over in the Hudson Valley. It's upstate way. Maybe that's a good opportunity to explore. I'm like, what? I was like, yeah, that sounds so awesome, but it's so scary. Well, it turns out the the desire had been imprinted
Mhm.
in me for so long that it was like this slow catching fire, that this one moment, the circumstances were just right. It just fanned itself into this bonfire, and at that point it was impossible to escape it. And of course I did that, and I was scared poopless the whole way, but one thing was leading to another, and here I am.
That's a story I hear from a lot of people who, when they go after what their inner child desires, it just the way, the way becomes open. Because I mean, even for myself, you know I always wanted to be a speaker. I remember the first time I spoke in Jamaica. It was an all island public speaking contest, and I was so nervous. I felt so sick that I actually got sick. And my team actually said that I was the reason they didn't even place, that they came, well, kind of last. And I remember going home and practicing, ev- the following year to do a really, really good job. And I spoke, and we came in the top third place in the entire island of Jamaica. And I fell in love with speaking then. And, when the pandemic hit, or the thing, I was like, okay, what do I want to do? And that inner child was like, I need you to talk. And I'm like, I asked a friend, they're like, I don't know. I asked somebody, like, I don't know. But then the inner child just would not shut up. So I decided to do it. And I found that I actually like it. I like getting up every day or every week and thinking, how can I create value? And more ideas pop, because now you're doing what the inner child wants. It's like, okay, now you're doing what I want. I'll behave. I'll not only behave, I'll help you to get some of the things that you want. You know. So
That,
we're about to close out, but I will give a tip for those people who are wondering how can they communicate with the inner child. I'll give you 3 tips that have worked for me and for many, and then Alexandros, if you have maybe 2 tips, you can give everyone two. I know one tip is you can write out what you want and feel it in an affirmative way. The inner child understands feeling. It just knows feeling. And once you feel, it imprints. And the second tip is, before you go to bed at night or while you're laying in the bed, play a movie of what you ideally would like to have. So, say for example, you want to have that house in the woods. Imagine that you have the house in the woods. Feel the feeling of having the house in the woods, and fall asleep with that movie instead of what I used to watch. I used to watch a lot of Korean movies and then go right to bed. Watch your own movie, and then watch as your inner child goes, I like that. Let's help you to get that. And a way will be open for you. Alexandros, any 2 tips that you could give everyone as we close out?
well, as I said, one one tip that is the most important one. Of course, we just said the child's not going to just behave. The child will be happy. A happy child will give you all the magic in the world. Will give you way more than you asked for because
Mm-hmm.
you don't even know what the child is capable of, right? So keep thinking of the child. The child is your emotional self, is your own emotions. Please yourself. Do things for yourself that make you feel good, make you feel inspired, make you feel worthy,
Mm-hmm.
make you feel like you're taking care of yourself. And to me, play more.
Yeah,
Right?
definitely play more.
Play. That's what it's called. When you're creating or playing, you're playing music, right? You're playing
Right.
music. Yes. So creation is all about that. People call that being in the zone. I'm in the zone. That's being in the zone. You have a child that is so engaged that it's just would rather do nothing else at that moment. It's fully there, and being fully there, it will come up with the most amazing stuff that you have ever imagined.
Yes, I've experienced it. I know you've experienced it. A lot of our best ideas come when we allow that inner child to play. All right, guys. So we're grateful that you stopped in to watch. If you have any questions, of course, message me or message Alexandros Megas. That's how he is found on Facebook. And we'll be happy to answer any questions for you. We pray that you were touched, moved, and inspired by what we shared, and that you got some more information about how you can get to your goals faster. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.